Hello everyone, this is part 6 of What If Naruto Was Trained by the Kyuubi, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. Naruto age, 30, immortal. Naruto mental age, 12. 1 month later. A month had passed since Naruto's duel with Raiga, and for the most part everything was as it had been for the last 3 years. Naruto continued on with his training, while getting a bit farther in his mastery of his two sans jutsu. He was also taught about and later mastered Shinku Kaijin and its untapped power while in its released form because of its sentience and origins. Flashback. So you are telling me that it has another form than the one I'm holding? Naruto asked, slightly puzzled at the revelation that Natsumi just told him about his sword. Hi. As I've said, because of its sentience from my fur, your blade has another more powerful form. But to be able to control its released form, you must summon Shinku Kaijin itself to this plane. To do so, simply allow your blood to run down the sword and then thrust it into the ground. Naruto eyed his sword carefully before doing as his sensei instructed and nicked his finger along the blade, driving it into the ground. No sooner had the sword hit the earth did a seal looking much like a summoning seal appear on the ground, only this one was in blood as a plum of smoke erupted. The plum of smoke soon gave way to a silhouette, which then later gave way to an identical looking Naruto, only this one looked evil. Everything that Naruto wasn't was personified on this doppelganger, from the opposite colors of clothes, to his jet black hair and eyes. What is this and why does it look like me? Naruto asked in agitation, looking at Natsumi. I am Shinku Kaijin, the doppelganger said in a deep, almost regal tone. No. You're me, Naruto retorted. Before I blow this thing away, tell me what I need to do to control the released form Kyuubi-sensei. You, Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto, must defeat me in battle in order to wield my power. That is all that must be done. The Dark Naruto spoke while raising his sword, pointing it at the original. There you have it, Naruto, Natsumi said in a sing-song voice while moving out of the way. You're kidding? No, you never kid when it comes to this sort of thing, do you, sensei? He retorted before getting into his Kitsune Ise-ru stance. Not another word was spoken as both Narutos just stared at the other, until they phased out of place and reappeared with their swords clashing against each other. The duel had lasted close to an hour, neither Naruto gaining an upper hand. Of course the real Naruto could have easily won had he used jutsu, but it was silently understood that it was to be kenjutsu only. Kitsune Ise-ru, Kitsune Chum no Mai. Naruto shouted, releasing his attack, while Dark Naruto simply parried all of the strikes. Not bad, Naruto-san, but you'll need to do better than that, the dark version smirked, while chipping away at the man's pride. Damn it, I can't hit him. Naruto yelled in his mind. This guy, why did he take my form for? He could have taken anyone's, so why mine? Wait. Naruto's expression took a shocked turn before he jumped away from his other half. We'll end this in one blow, this is tiresome and I need to get back to real training. Naruto said smugly. The Dark Naruto only smirked. Oh, is not getting a single blow on me not enough of a workout for you then? Naruto's face took an impassive expression before he sheathed his sword and settled in a batojutsu stance. Seems he figured out his dilemma, Natsumi mused silently, cheering on her friend and student. Oh, you want to end it in one sword strike then? Well, it certainly is a change of pace to fight like that, but very well. Dark Naruto said before setting himself in the same stance. Both Narutos stood there for a second, before once again phasing out of existence. Soon a clash of swords could be heard but not seen, before a loud crash resounded throughout the clearing. Natsumi looked at the mountain where dust and rock was kicked up from the impact of one of the Narutos being flung into it in anticipation to see who was the winner. The dust soon settled to show the point of Naruto's sword at the T of his doppelganger, who was lodged inside the crater of the mountain. I win, Naruto said in an emotionless tone. Hi. That you do and have earned the right to wield me at my full power. I will obey you and only you, Naruto-sama. The dark Naruto said before puffing out of existence. After a moment the sword Naruto held pulsed once before bursting into flame. Naruto stared in amazement of his new weapon before Natsumi tore him from his thoughts. Congratulations on your win, Naruto-kun, she said happily. I must admit I was rather impressed with your ingenuity on how you defeated him. Arigato Natsumi-chan. Well, after I fought him for as long as I did, I began to wonder why he took my visage and not his own or someone else's. I realized that the duel was really a test, to see if I could defeat my greatest enemy, myself. Had I kept fighting as I had, I'd have lost because he knew all my moves and how to counter them. So I just went with a move I just thought up on the spot. Granted, using my sword as a defense to block his sword instead of offense like Batojutsu relies on, and using my scabbard as my actual attack instead was dangerous, but it did the trick. Hi, very good, Naruto. However, now we should get moving to snow. I'm sure by now people from Konoha heard the commotion you've made. She said in her sensei tone again. Hi, he responded, packing his things and jumping off back en route to Snow Country. Flashback end. Continuing on his path to Snow, Naruto had helped Hana attune and defeat a traitor from both King Her and stealing a valuable scroll from Konoha. Soon after, he made it to the port that would bring him to Snow Country. The boat trip itself took almost a week, mainly due to unforeseen weather, but the pair were finally able to make it safely. Let's try to find some lodging, Naruto-kun, Natsumi said, slightly shaking from the cold. Naruto dispelled her shadow clone discreetly and resummoned one with more clothing on, before nodding at her statement, traveling into the small village near the port. Doesn't look like much, Naruto said absent-mindedly, while looking at the village. The village was quite small, only a few dozen houses were erected, it seemed. The town was completely engulfed in snow, hence the name of the country, but the snow gave the village a cozy ambience to it. There were at least provisions that any town needed: lodging for tourists, restaurants, clothing stores, anything that someone would need to be comfortable there. Even the few people that the pair had passed along the way seemed nice, with gentle smiles and polite nods before they went on their way. It's an isolated country, Naruto-kun. Of course it isn't going to be as lively as, say, Konoha or Suna. She responded back while also observing the village, though she enjoyed the scenery Mother Nature had provided the small town. Hi, your lady friend is right, we might not be much but we do what we can. An unknown voice warmly called out to the pair. They both turned towards the sound of the voice to find an old woman carrying some logs in her arms as she looked at the pair with a warm smile. The woman had light blue hair with streaks of gray running down to her chin. She had green eyes that seemed to lie about just how old she was. If either of them guessed she had been a shinobi in her youth the way she held herself, but dismissed it after a glance. She wore a simple parka, and sweatpants with gloves and a hat. Gamen, but I couldn't help but overhear your comments, she said, her smile growing larger. If it's lodging you are looking for, I can supply some for you too. Arigato, but we don't exactly have money to pay for it, Naruto said a bit sheepishly. Oh, well that's fine then. I'm sure you two could help an old woman with some chores around the house as rent any. She offered cheerily. Hi, Naruto said happily, before helping the woman with the logs. I'm Kaname, she greeted. I'm Naruto and this, he said, poking his head towards the vixen, is Natsumi. Ah, nice to meet you, Naruto-san and Natsumi-san. Nice to meet you as well, Kaname-san, Natsumi greeted. The trio remained silent through the rest of the trek towards Kaname's home, which was on the outskirts of the small village. It was a lot bigger than the pair expected, but once seeing it realized why the old woman granted them vacancies. The house was 3 stories, and was made of old but very sturdy wood. They entered the house and it surprised them even more on how cozy and warm it actually was inside. You can just put the wood near the fireplace, Naruto-san, she ordered. Hi, he moved over towards the fireplace and set the wood down before going back towards the women. Now, I know it isn't my business, but are you two lovers? I only asked to determine which room you'll need, she asked innocently, though getting a rather amusing answer via tomato red blushes from the young pair. No, we aren't lovers, she is just my shinobi sensei and good friend, Naruto stammered out, Natsumi only nodding in agreement. It's so fun to mess with the young, but I swear sometimes it's not even a challenge anymore. I could tell these two had feelings for each other just by their body language while they were walking close together, the old woman thought with a snicker. I see. Well, I do have a double bedroom if you want that, or would you like two separate rooms? The double is fine, Kaname-san. It'll be easier to wake him up for training if I'm already in the room. Natsumi answered with an evil glint in her eye. That Naruto knew meant trouble. Crap. I should have answered sooner, he thought, regretting his hesitancy. Alright then, your room will be up the stairs and 2 doors to your left, she informed, getting a nod from the pair as they walked up the stairs to get settled in. Once Naruto and Natsumi put their stuff away, they decided to help Kaname cook dinner, which was just a simple soup with some beef and a side of rice. They sat down and ate most of the dinner in a comfortable silence, the cracks and sparks of the burning wood the only sound as they ate, until Kaname decided to start a friendly conversation. So tell me about you two, how did you meet? Or why are you training for Naruto-san? Well, I have known Natsumi-chan since I was 6 years old. She helped me through a tough time in my life and has been my constant friend and companion ever since. We're inseparable, you might say. He answered, wary of his words, but smiled at the end from his inside joke between the demon pair. As for training, I just want to get stronger to help protect the people that matter most to me, like Natsumi-chan and Myoji-san back where I used to live. That is a good reason, Naruto-san. I'm glad you picked the right path of the shinobi. If I may inquire, is that why you are here? To train or learn Hyoten Jutsu or the like? Kaname's eyes hardened and focused on the pair when she asked, but kept it so subtle that neither of her guests seemed to notice. Hi. Natsumi-sensei thought it would be good for me to learn some Hyoten Jutsu since not many shinobi come here. Speaking of which, would you happen to know of anyone who could teach me, or where I might find someone that could? Naruto inquired after answering the woman's question. Kaname took on a thoughtful expression for a moment before smiling at Naruto and nodding in affirmation. Hi. The Snow Daimyo, Kazuhana Doto would be able to help you out. His entire bodyguard staff and special army division are all snow shinobi. Your problem will be convincing him to let someone teach you, however. Our daimyo isn't exactly trusting of outsiders. We are in a civil war with freedom fighters who believe that the true heir of the throne is still alive out in the world. But there has not been any proof of it being true, and Doto is the next in line, so he automatically took control since his brother was assassinated some years ago. However, if you wish to test your luck, Doto can be found in his castle on top of the mountains a few miles north of this village. Naruto nodded in understanding and thanks. Arigato for the information, Kaname-san. We will go and try to convince this Doto to allow me as sensei tomorrow. After they all finished dinner, Kaname retired for the evening, leaving Naruto and Natsumi to train with what little light they had left outside. The training didn't last long, however, as the two came back after only a few hours. Do you think he'll give me a sensei, Natsumi-chan? Naruto asked, plopping himself on his bed. I don't know, Naruto-kun. Things seem off in Snow Country, she said in accusing tone. Something just isn't sitting right with me, and it has to do with what Kaname-san told us about Doto and that supposed heir out there. Well, I suppose things would be like that with a civil war going on. But still, I hope he allows me to be taught. I'd have hated to waste the time to come all the way down here for nothing. We'll just have to wait and see, Naruto-kun. Get some rest, you'll need it for tomorrow, she responded with a slight yawn. He yawned as well. Hi. Next day, the demon pair woke up early in the morning and helped Kaname cook a quick breakfast and wished her a good day before leaving for Doto's castle. Being a shinobi and an all-powerful demon, it didn't take them long to trek up the mountainside to get to said castle. They reached the front gates. Realizing that the easy part was over, they steeled their expression and asked to see the Doto. After a rather heated argument with the gate guards, Naruto and Natsumi were told to leave before they were arrested. Damn. What should we do now? He asked, annoyed. Well, Doto is probably a busy man, and can't see everyone that wishes to speak with him, she responded before an idea came to mind that make her smirk. Well, I suppose that if you want to make a good impression to get you a sensei, the best way would be to show a little of your skills. Naruto looked at her, wondering what she meant, repeating her words and looking for the hidden meaning. He soon found his answer. Clever, Natsumi-chan, clever, but you know it could get dangerous if it backfires, he said, smiling, liking her idea even with the possible danger involved. After all, foxes were known for being tricksters. She shrugged. Mare, won't matter much. If worse comes to worse, you can just summon me and we'll leave, she said nonchalantly. All right, you want to stay out. She shook her head slightly. I'll leave this one up to you, think of it as a test, Naruto. Oh, and no using onoppo jutsus other than to hide your appearance, she stipulated with a leer, making him sweat lightly. That look always scares the crap out of me, yet she always looks sassy when she does it. He thought, feeling his body heat up before schooling himself. Natsumi puffed back into the seal and watched as Naruto prepared a plan to meet Todoroki. If daimyo were anything alike, their throne room would be in the largest tower in the back of the castle. Problem is that I don't know how many guards he has or where they are located, and knowing that Snow is in the middle of a civil war, there will probably be more guards than normal. A diversion wouldn't be a bad idea usually, but I'm not trying to K the guy. I guess stealth is the only way. He mused before getting up and stretching slightly. Let's get wild, he said with a smirk while cracking his N, before disappearing. If there was one thing Naruto was glad about, it was all the chakra control exercises that Natsumi had hammered into his training. Being completely silent in a place that echoed is nearly impossible without good control. So climbing the wall of the fortress and getting into the first level was thankfully uneventful. However, now came the hard part. He had no idea where he was and was stuck with a fork in the hallway. Damn, I was hoping to not have to use jutsu till later, he thought with a grimace before nicking his thumb. Kuchio's no jutsu, summoning technique. He whispered as a puff of smoke arose and then quickly left, leaving two midnight black foxes about the size of small dogs sitting elegantly as each of their three tails waved around. You called us Naruto-sama. The fox on the right questioned with a yip that no human could understand. Hi, I need you two to check out what is through both these hallways. Stealth is the key. When you know, come back and tell me, understood? He commanded softly. Hi. They both yipped before running off down both corridors. Only a few minutes later did the pair come back and report what they had seen. The right path lead to the armory with a pair of shinobi guarding the room, inevitably led AS end. While the left lead to another fork in the road, but deeper into the castle. I might still need your assistance if you're up to it, he asked while getting ready to go. Hi. Whatever you command, Naruto-sama. Remind me to give you a reward after this is over. He commanded with a laugh at the can do, chewed, getting a happy yip from the pair, before all three of them quickly but silently went along the left corridor. Once they hit the fork, the foxes repeated the process, and they took the right corridor. To both the annoyance of Naruto and the foxes, they had to repeat the process another 2 times before they got to a single room, which seemed to be the prison section of the castle, though it had 3 floors to it. Arigato for your help. I'll give you your rewards the next time I summon UNE. Naruto offered warmly as he stroked them behind the ears, before they yipped in agreement and puffed out of existence. Now, he said absent-mindedly before jumping on and then running up the wall, silently reaching the 3rd level of the prison with ease. I don't like this. I haven't seen but more than 6 guards so far, he thought to himself as he ran along the corridor that led farther back into the castle. To Naruto's surprise, there weren't many side paths along this one, so it was much easier to transverse than the one he was in with his summonings. As he continued to run, a light in the distance told him he was getting closer to the next room, but he quickly stopped when he heard rather loud sounds. He braced himself against the wall, and concentrated on his hearing, quickly discerning the sound into voices, metal, and glass. Voices, metal, and glass. He thought, trying to figure out what kind of room it was, before the mathematics hit him. Oh, you have got to be kidding. I swear if it is, I'm going to have a good laugh over this once this is over. He thought with a dumbfounded look on his face before starting a set of hand seals. Suten, Neimori Kiri, water style, sleep mist. He whispered before, opening his mouth and allowing a fine unseen mist to quickly flow out and move towards the room. Once Naruto thought enough mist was out, he closed his mouth and waited for the telltale sounds of his jutsu working. He didn't have to wait long, however, as his heightened hearing picked up groggy groaning, metal hitting metal and the floor, as well as glass shattering, and a rather loud proclamation. What the F is happening? A voice screamed out inside the room. Now's as good a time as any, he thought while grabbing a handful of senbon needles, and then speeding down towards the entrance of the room. Naruto crossed the threshold, and with his heightened senses launched his needles at the barely on guard shinobi. Problem was that the ones that didn't succeed to the mist were all Junin level. Naruto was however able to get 9 out of the 12, so he only had to deal with 3, a man with glasses, a bald man and a woman. The 2 remaining males launched an attack at Naruto while the female ran to the alarm on the wall. Naruto thought, throwing the rest of his needles at the woman to stop her. The males tried to intercept the needles, and succeeded except for a lone one which hit the woman in the end forcing her to sleep. You'll pay for that, the man with the glasses said. However, he paid so much attention to saving the woman that when he turned around he failed to notice that Naruto has summoned Shinku Kaijin and was already in full swing, with the blade reversed. The man with glasses was hit square in the chest, causing all the air to leap out of his lungs as he was sent into the far wall unconscious. Naruto landed from his airborne strike without a sound, before rushing the last Junin who was just finishing a set of hand seals. I can't have him alerting the rest of the castle. He yelled at himself before summoning chakra to his feet, increasing his speed. Suten, Mizuame. The Junin began to shout but was cut off when Naruto said the hilt of his sword into the man's stomach with such speed that all the air left him and he was sent headfirst into one of the metal tables, causing him to be knocked out. Damn it, by now the guards probably know something is up. Naruto cursed before climbing the stairs to the next room. I still can't believe my luck, to catch most of Doto's troops while they were eating in the mess hall. Must have some kind of luck today, he thought with a smirk climbing the stairs. Naruto knew he was getting close to the throne room, since every room he passed seemed to grow larger and more intricate with its door designs. After some time of running, he came to a set of humongous double-bolted doors. If someone needs a place to be protected, this would probably be it, Naruto surmised, before connecting their mental link. Natsumi-chan, I'm about to meet Doto, you should come out so we can corroborate my story and reasons for training. Hi Naruto-kun, it was getting boring watching you beat up those shinobi anyway. But you're just lucky you got to that man before he used that jutsu, or else the whole place would be on red alert if they aren't already. She scolded with a small laugh. Kage Bushin no jutsu. It's nice to be out. He rolled his eyes at her comment. You were only in there like 2 hours. He retorted disbelievingly. True, but watching you sweat while training certainly keeps me occupied enough to not notice how long I'm in the seal. She teased with a hungry, playful leer, making him blush. He is still so easy to embarrass, she mentally laughed, after finally realizing that he had actually hit puberty several months prior to his sosei. Let's just get my sensei and get out. He snipped back, getting control over his pink cheeks, while she just nodded, holding back a snicker. Naruto pushed the double doors open and they both just strode in the room. Luckily Naruto had guessed right, the largest room was the throne room. The room was huge, even though there wasn't much to it. A long red carpet which led to the throne itself, some columns that ran alongside the carpet, and a raised-up monument with stairs that also lead to the throne with Doto currently sitting there. And what do I owe the pleasure of this sudden company? Dozu asked with a bored smile on his face, while snapping his fingers before 3 snow shinobi appeared in front of the base of the stairs. As the demon pair walked closer towards the monument, they took in the features of the daimyo and his shinobi. Doto was a tall man, with a long Frankensteinish face. He had brown eyes and brown hair with a few strands falling over his forehead and eyes. His voice and articulation gave away his rather dark demeanor, Naruto and Natsumi already deciding he wasn't a good man, but held off full judgment until proven either way. The 3 shinobi standing below him seemed to be his most trusted personal bodyguards. The one on the far left was the tallest of the 3, he had dark purple hair and eyes that appeared to be almost black. He wore a light blue shirt with dark shinobi pants, and wore some strange armor that neither Naruto nor Natsumi recognized on both his arms. The female of the group, who was on the far right, had pink hair in 2 small pigtails that stuck out of the top of her head, and green eyes. She wore a slightly darker blue shirt than the first man, also with black shinobi pants and odd armor on her right arm and on her upper back. The last of the trio, and probably the strongest one since he was in the middle, was of medium height, with light purple hair in a ponytail with cyan-colored eyes. He too wore a light blue shirt with black shinobi pants and his armor only surrounded his left arm. The pair finished their trek stopping a few yards from the trio as to not raise suspicion more than they already had. I had hoped to have an audience with you Doto-sama, Naruto said with slight bile in his tone when addressing the man but covering it up with a bow. Oh, and who are you and what prompted you to sneak into my home as you did? I do make appointments you know. He retorted, his smile widening slightly. I am Kazama Arashi and this is Natsumi, and I had asked the gate guards if I could meet you, they said no. I didn't really feel like waiting, and my sensei here thought it a good idea to give you a demonstration of my skills for the exact reason I'm here. So this is your sensei, is it? I would have thought it your lover at first, but sensei, that's just lovely. He mused with a hidden lecherous undertone, though not well enough since both demons noted it as he eyed Natsumi, making Naruto's hands ball into fists. And a demonstration of what? Why exactly are you here? He asked, now curious, turning to the Hanyu. I wish to ask your permission to allow one of your snow shinobi to teach me Hyoten jutsus. Doto quirked a brow. Oh, well, I see where that demonstration comes in handy then. To be able to enter my fortress undetected and reach my throne room without even a single scratch is certainly a feat of great shinobi ability. Quote. He answered absent-mindedly while going into an exaggerated thinking pose. Well, if you don't mind, I do have a few more questions to ask before I make a decision. You may know this or not, but we are in the middle of a civil war, so I can't be too suspicious. He finally answered, getting a nod of understanding from the pair. First off, where do the pair of you hail from? You're clearly competent shinobi, yet you wear no headband of a hidden village. Why? Also, what do you wish to learn this country's jutsus for exactly? Lastly, what do you plan on giving back as payment for the lessons you would be taught? He shot back, leaning back in his throne waiting for the blonde's answer. We hail from Konoha in Fire Country. You are correct, we are shinobi, but we wear no insignia because we're not recognized as shinobi by any governing body. We left Konoha as civilians because I wished to learn jutsu from other countries without being labeled as a missing nins in the process, nor cause any political backlash for me learning from other countries. My reasons for wishing to learn are my own, I'm afraid. However, on our word as shinobi, any jutsu I'm allowed to learn here will not be shared outside of this country without express permission. As for payment, gomenasai to say we don't really have anything of value to give. We're wandering shinobi, so we only keep what we must to survive traveling. Doto listened to his explanation, while rubbing his chin in seeming contemplation. I see. Well, considering you aren't shinobi of any village and more importantly any enemy villages. I don't see why I can't spare someone to teach you a few jutsu. He said with a facial expression that made him look deep in thought. Although I do think I have something that I could ask for in return for your lessons. He paused as he looked at Natsumi and smirked. She isn't your lover, so you've stated. And since she is traveling with you, I can safely assume that she has no significant other in Konoha. So I humbly ask in return for the lessons you receive, the pleasure of her company tonight for dinner. He requested, his voice almost oozing the same amount of lust that radiated off his eyes. Naruto's fists began to shake in rage at the audacity of this daimyo, a few drops of blood falling to the ground from the force of his GS. To ask a woman to dinner with his intentions so clearly singing off his tongue, how disgusting. And to ask my Natsumi-chan this no less. If I didn't need to ask this bastard, I'd K him here and now for showing such disrespect. At least knowing she'll definitely say no to this asshole is the only solace I'll have since I can't s his balls off. He thought, his teeth gritting against each other. Damn it, I'm so riled up I even called her my Natsumi-chan. Alright, Natsumi answered quickly, cutting off Naruto's protest. The exchange. What? He mentally screamed before looking at her in astonishment, but she kept herself facing Doto, not giving Naruto a chance to question her. Excellent. Fubuki, he called, motioning to the pink-haired shinobi in front of him. Please take Arashi-san here and teach him some basic Hyoten jutsu to start off with. Natsumi-san, please follow Nadare to my guest room so you may get into something more comfortable, and wash up for tonight if you wish. I will have my cooks begin dinner immediately. He finished excitedly, before quickly exiting the room to prepare himself. The woman named Fubuki was more than elated to complete this mission. After all, how often do you get to personally train an exotic, haughty, such as Naruto was her opinion on the matter. Come Naruto-kun, the training grounds are outside the castle walls, she said, nearly purring while grabbing his arm and pulling him towards the doors. Naruto was still in a state of shock while he was being dragged away by Fubuki and just stared at Natsumi, who was walking away behind Nadare, who was the shinobi in the middle of the trio from before. Soon the throne room doors closed and the day rolled on as Naruto trained with Fubuki and Natsumi had her date with Doto. Later that night. Damn that pervert. I should have just let Naruto-kun say no for me, or better yet got the bastard and I just teach him the Hyoten basics myself. It would have been worth it to save me the anguish and stress of leaving him alive from all his damn advances on me. A quite agitated Natsumi thought while storming up the stairs of Kaname's house after her date with Doto. Maybe I should tease Naruto-kun a bit, that always gets me back in high spirits. After all, it's the least he owes me after having to endure that so he could learn from that kunoichi. She mused while at the threshold to the door of their room. She schooled her annoyance, and put on a fake smile before turning the knob and entered the room. The room was completely dark save for the moonlight that lit up patches of the darkness. Her superior eyesight immediately noticed Naruto with his back to her sitting at the small table close to the window, his form outlined by the moon. As her eyes got used more to the darkness, she came to see that Naruto was sharpening and cleaning Shinku Kaijin on his lap, well before he stopped and spoke. Welcome back. I guess you had a good time with him considering you're just getting back now. He responded, but didn't turn towards her. She heard a slight sadness in his tone, but just chalked it up to him being tired and not liking Doto, the latter she couldn't agree with more though. Yay, I had a nice time actually, he isn't so bad once you get to know him. I was actually thinking about going out with him again some time later. She lied through her teeth in a sickeningly happy tone, still hoping that her teasing will get a funny reaction from her friend that would cheer her up. I see, I'm happy for you then. He paused as he stood up and sheathed Shinku Kaijin in its scabbard and let it puff out of existence. Quote. I'm going to go to sleep, good night. He finished in a rather emotionless tone before plopping himself on his bed, still facing away from the vixen. Oh. Okay. Good night then, Naruto-kun, she responded back in a perplexed tone. Her fake smile, and happy glint in her eyes SD after seeing his movements. Maybe, it was a bad idea for me to tease him about the date. She confessed, noting that Naruto had been rather distant with her since her return, and something else that began to eat at the back of her mind but never realized what it was trying to tell her, that Naruto was jealous. She set her things down on her bed and forced herself to disappear back in the seal, and simply waiting for Naruto to come and begin his mental training. It had been almost 2 hours in his mind before Natsumi tried to contact Naruto but found that either he wasn't responding or he couldn't hear her. What's going on? She wondered, beginning to get worried. What she hadn't realized was that Naruto hadn't fallen asleep yet, he was wide awake with only one thought on his mind, that thought was ironically her. Why did she agree to go out with him? I know she could see the same things that I could see about him, if not better than me. So why the hell did she say yes? He thought, turning over in the bed. Damn it. I don't understand. Does she like mates like that? Question mark. Ones who are more forward with her. Or maybe she likes mates with power. Question mark. Quote. He cynically laughed at this thought. And some small part of me actually thought that becoming part demon might have made us grow closer. Back then I thought maybe it was because I was a mere human that I'd never have a chance with her. But even after I turned into a Hanyu, nothing changed between us. And now she decides to goes out with a human, and someone like him no less. Question mark. TSH. I was an idiot to think anything would change between us with both of us now being demons. But now I realize that no matter what I do I'll always be out of her league. Damn it to Fing hell. I'm her damned jailer for Kami-sama's sake. He paused to loudly laugh at just how pathetic he really was. All this training must have fried my brain, cause what the hell was I thinking to believe that she and I could ever work? She is a queen and should only be with a mate in the same standing. Not some stupid male who is both no longer human nor demon. A freak that not even his own Car-san wanted, and is even her jailer no less. Kami-sama, I'm pathetic. He sighed lightly before coming to a conclusion with himself. Well, if that is her wish, I have no right to stop her. She is already in this seal unfairly, it would unthinkable for me to hold her back from possibly finding happiness if she still can just because I have feelings for her. It's not something a friend would do and it's not something I would even if I wasn't either, even an abomination like myself. But still, why does it have to hurt so much to let her go? Naruto continued to rant to himself while he tossed and turned throughout most of the night, until exhaustion finally took over. Natsumi herself had waiting for him to come into his mindscape, but after a few more hours decided it was a lost cause and went to sleep against her favorite tree, wishing she knew what was going on with her friend and crush whom she now worried for. The next morning Natsumi awoke to the sun's rays hitting her eyesight. She groaned and turned over only to notice she wasn't in the seal anymore but in her bed in the pair's room. She slowly leaned up on one arm and wiped away the sleep from her eyes as she searched the room for Naruto. Naruto, she called out, but got no response. She looked to his bed thinking maybe he was still asleep but noticed it was fully made. What had caught her eye though was a piece of paper on his pillow addressed to her. She got up noting she was fully dressed in her usual kimono, before walking over and read the note. Sensei, thought you'd appreciate the bed, so I made your bushin. I went out training. Naruto, she frowned. He could have woke me. She thought forlornly that Naruto didn't wake and bring her with him to train like he had always done before. After a moment she shook her head of her thoughts, and jumped out of the window heading towards where she heard grunts and cries, evidence of someone fighting thanks to her advanced hearing. She soon reached a snow-filled clearing with a quite ragged-looking Naruto who by any indication of the war zone that was once called nature around him had been doing some seriously intense training while holding Shinku Kaijin in its released form in his hands. After another elegant but sly set of sword thrusts and swings, Naruto lowered his sword and looked over at Natsumi. She gave him a sweet smile. "Ohio Naruto-kun," she greeted, before surveying the area. "By the way, remind me to never get on your bad side while you have your sword out." She joked with a small laugh. "Gamen. I just thought that I could use some training with him in his released form." He responded with a lie. Truth be told, the moment Naruto saw the beautiful vixen in the clearing with the sunlight giving her an almost angelic glow thanks to the reflections from the dew that collected on her persons from the morning air, he wanted to just march over there, grab her into an embrace and kiss her with all of his being. He knew, however, that he didn't have any right to because of what he was. Hell, that was the whole reason he was out here in the first place. He needed to release all the stress and tension, frustration and loneliness. Always the workaholic NE. You know you won't ever find a mate with that kind of attitude. She teased before strolling closer to him, though having no idea that her words caused Naruto's heart to feel like it just fell down into his stomach, especially since he put up a fake smile at her teasing. "Your form has gotten better, even with him released. I'm impressed. Oh, and arigato for your thoughtfulness about the bed." She thanked with a warm smile, making him want to kiss her even more now. "Kami-sama, I think I'm in the 9th circle of hell." He mentally groaned, squeezing Shinku Kaijin's hilt in an effort to subdue his chaotic emotions. "It wasn't a problem, just thought I'd make you more comfortable. And gamen about not going to mental training last night. Fubuki is a rather harsh sensei, and I needed to sort some things out." He confessed with a small half-smile and rather distant tone. Seeing his expression, and hearing his words and inflection in which he spoke, she couldn't help but frown. "Is everything okay?" "Hi. I just figured out a solution to a problem I was having. It's nothing you need to worry about." He smiled back at her, though she easily noticed it was a fake one like he used to use in the village, but decided not to press the issue even if she was disturbed by its use on her. "Alright, well, you know the drill by now. I'll be here to watch. Once you are up to par with my expectations, you can go with Fubuki-san for your Hyoten training," she commanded before moving towards a tree and sat down, a slight frown adorning her face. She disliked telling him to go see another woman for any reason, but it couldn't be helped. Naruto did as was told, and sent his bushins to do the job, before he grabbed his father's kunai and continued on with his practice of the Hirashin no Jutsu, for the remainder of the morning and afternoon, before going to see Fubuki. 6 months later, half a year had passed since that day, and things on the surface were fine between the demon pair. Naruto's training excelled as usual. He finally gained a better understanding of his father's technique, and was actually able to use it a few times, though was still far from mastering it. His other skills grew as well, even his Hyoten training with Fubuki was going well. He was already up to learning Chunin level jutsu from her, which surprised the Snow Kunoichi. In her opinion, Hyoten was a rather hard element to learn, yet he made it look easy, which repeatedly infuriated her, though mostly it being her pride. While not training, the demon pair befriended Kaname more and the trio quickly became good friends. Doing many non-shinobi things together in the village, causing Naruto and Natsumi to become well known and favored in the little town. Unfortunately for the pair, because they had gotten so close to the old woman, they found out that she was living with a terminal disease that caused her many violent coughing fits at random times and would eventually kill her. They had suggested bringing in a medic nin to check her out, but she declined, knowing that even if there was a cure, she was an old woman, and it would only give her a few more years anyway, so might as well leave things be. However, underneath the surface things weren't quite as serene as it appeared between the demon pair. Along with Naruto and Natsumi growing closer to Kaname and she to them. She noticed a definite rift between the pair. Mainly on Naruto's side, which she knew Natsumi realized too but chose to never verbalize her concerns. The rift was most evident to her when at the beginning of their trip to Snow, Naruto used to always laugh and play along with Natsumi's little subtle innuendos or fake advances towards him. But now he deftly averted himself anytime Natsushimi got that oh so infamous glint in her eyes that always used to make the two laugh. Though Natsumi never stopped with the teasing, Kaname still noticed the two weren't as close as they used to be, and getting to know them as well as she had, it bothered her to see her friends, well mainly Naruto, acting like this. It was currently a cool day in August and the trio were doing their own things around the house. Kaname had wanted to clean up the house before the village's yearly festival at the end of the week, which celebrated the founding of Snow Country, the festival itself being quite a tourist attraction. Snow was never a common thing in the main elemental countries, so when the festival rolled around, many people came to see the beautiful country and have fun during the festival. She was currently cleaning up the kitchen when she looked out the window to notice Naruto cutting firewood. She just watched the main autonomously cut the wood, until the pair's dilemma rose to the surface of her thoughts. She simply lost her patience with the man's attitude towards his friend and decided that if Natsushimi wasn't going to say anything, she'd have to be the one to knock some sense into him with a stern talking to. And with Natsumi currently in the village, it would be the best time to talk to him one-on-one. Kaname-san, I finished chopping the wood. A slightly winded Naruto called from outside the house. All right, Naruto-kun. Oh, would you mind coming in here for a minute? There is something I need to ask you. She called back, grinning at her luck. After a minute, Naruto emerged in the doorway of the kitchen and saw the old woman sitting at the dinner table with 2 cups of tea set up. Naruto got the idea and sat himself where the tea was before taking a small sip to warm himself up. Good tea as always, Kaname-san. So what did you want to ask me? He sighed contently after taking another sip. I'm sure you don't want to talk about it, but I'm rather worried about Natsumi-chan and yourself. Quote. She paused with a stern look, making just what she was asking quite clear to the orange-haired Hanyu. Why exactly have you been acting distant to her? Especially at times when she tries to play with you. I know for certain you aren't gay, and that if I were to guess, you have some rather deep feelings for her. I have seen the times when you just stare at her. I could seriously bet money that I could S you with a kunai and you wouldn't avert your gaze from her during some of the times I've noticed you watching her. She finished with a smirk, noting the man's slight pink cheeks. What the pair didn't know was that a certain red-haired demoness had just come back from the village's market. And a moment before entering the same doorway to the kitchen, Naruto heard what Kaname just asked Naruto. Hearing the woman's statement, Natsumi quickly and silently pressed her back against the wooden house, unconsciously pressing the grocery bags against her chest, her face completely flushed like she had just been caught with her hand in the cookie jar. What are they talking about me for? She mentally questioned, while straining to hear the rest of their conversation. Despite the awkwardness at her being the topic of discussion, the questions Kaname posed had also been plaguing her for the last few months as well, and wished to finally know the Naruto's reasoning. I should always be wary of the elderly, they can always seem to see past my defenses. He responded with a light laugh. Gomen Kaname-san. I don't mean to act that way, I really don't, it's just complicated. He admitted, lowering his head, his bangs now slightly covering his face. Well, we have a lot more worldly experience than you do, Naruto-kun. Quote. She answered with her own laugh. And it's not me who you should be apologizing to. Natsumi-chan may not have been verbal like me, but she is just as worried about you as I am. And what is so complicated about it? You have deep feelings for her, as I can see she does you. The only thing I think I can see that's complicated about it is that she is the Kyuubi no Kitsune and you are her Jinchuruki. She finished with a smirk. Both Naruto and Natsume were shocked. Natsumi nearly dropped her bags and Naruto's head shot up, almost causing him whiplash. Wah! He began to lie, before examining her face, and he schooled his emotions. How long have you known? He asked, realizing there was no point in hiding it. For a few months now, not as long that I've known you've liked each other, mind you. I mean, honestly, do you think it's possible for a real human to hold that much beauty? Her tight and flawless skin, her almost regal features, her beautifully hellish crimson hair and eyes. For lack of a better word, she is physically perfect. Someone like Natsumi-chan just cannot be human and look like that. A rather shallow way of looking at it, but it did the job. And whether you say it or not, I know you agree with me about her looks, if not more so, especially since I've seen you staring at her ass on more than one occasion. She explained with another smirk, knowing she was making Naruto hot under the collar. Now, with that said and done, why have you been acting the way you have towards her? When you both clearly have deep. She tried to question, but a hand slamming on the table interrupted her, making both women who heard it slightly jump. Gomen for that, Kaname-san, and while I both don't mean to and regret acting the way I have towards Natsumi-chan. The feelings I have for her don't matter anymore. She is who she is and I am what I am. That being said, it's impossible for there to be an us, no matter how much I wish there was. So please stop mentioning her having feelings for me, because it's like you're stabbing me in the heart every time you say it, since I know that isn't possible, so just please stop, Kaname-san. Naruto pleaded sullenly, his head hanging low with his face hidden again. Outside the house, Natsumi felt like she was on both Cloud 9 and the ninth circle of hell at the same time. While her eyes were streaming out tears of sadness, she had a full-blown foxy smile. Naruto-kun likes me. She screamed joyously at the top of her mental lungs, before coming down off her giddy high, and was now worried about his words. But why hasn't he said anything to me? And why does he think that it's impossible for me to have those kinds of feelings for him, when I do? She questioned, confusion now clearly written on her face, before she heard Naruto yell. Kaname-san. Natsumi slightly jumped from the scream before jumping into the archway of the door to see Naruto standing over Kaname, who was slumped over the dinner table coughing desperately. Natsumi quickly schooled herself and ran to the table to see what was wrong. Naruto helped Kaname out of her chair when the young pair noticed a small pool of blood where the old woman had just been coughing. Though the trio didn't want to admit it, Kaname has been steadily getting worse as the days began to get colder. Kaname continually played it off to not worry her friends, and while the pair didn't say anything because of Kaname's stubbornness to see a doctor, they knew she wasn't long for this world. However, this was a new and more dreadful turn of events. Never before had she been so bad that she coughed up blood. Naruto immediately brought her to the couch, while Natsumi got another cup of tea and some towels. After they cleaned up the blood, Natsumi and Naruto just sat close by Kaname as she slowly drank the tea. Gomen for the trouble you two, she said weakly. It's no trouble, Kaname-san, Natsumi responded with a warm smile. Just promise me you aren't planning on leaving me here with Naruto. He may be my student, but he still doesn't listen to me like he does you. She finished, making Kaname laugh. Hi, though I wonder if for you two that would be such a bad thing. She teased, making both of them look away with a blush, understanding her meaning, before she began into another coughing fit, sadly with more blood coming out. Guess cough that bastard is finally cough gonna get me any. She joked, receiving worried looks from both her friends. Damn it, Kaname-san, let us take you to a doctor, or better yet we'll bring one here. Naruto suggested in a pleading tone. Kaname took a sip of her tea and shook her head slightly, before smiling and looking out the window to watch the snow that had just begun to fall. No, I can feel it, it's already too late, it's simply a matter of time. I probably only have a few hours left, she confessed. But why? He began before he stopped when Natsumi grabbed his arm and slightly shook her head. Well, I suppose with however long I have left I should tell you both everything. Quote. She said, leaving the sentence hanging there to get the full attention of the two. Quote. I used to be a shinobi, in my younger years anyway. She laughed lightly before continuing. More to the point, I was a Junin-level medic ninja in the Hidden Sound village based in Rice Country. Hence why going to a doctor was pointless since I am one. A damn good one too. Anyway, because of who you two are, you both deserve to know this is probably the main reason I'm telling you. The otokage is someone at least you Natsumi, or should I say Kyuubi, know very well. Orochimaru. She paused to let this sink in. She wasn't disappointed in the pair's reactions. Natsumi's elegant features took on a bestial look, ready to K anyone who dared cross her, while Naruto's ki made the house slightly shake with his expression the same as his sensei's. You knew Orochimaru, Natsumi said with rage filling every word. Hi. I was his top medical researcher actually, well before he found me of no more use anyway. And, gomenasai Natsumi-chan, Naruto-kun. I didn't want to keep this from you, especially after learning who you two were. But I couldn't tell you because I didn't think you'd trust me enough to believe me, or would probably K me before I was able to finish my story. She confessed, guilt written on her face. The pair's expressions SD down soon after, leaving only solemn ones instead, knowing that she was probably right with her assumptions. Arigato for telling us, Kaname-san. Please continue your story. Naruto responded. Arigato both of you. Anyway, the next part of my story is actually rather important for you both. Though it's up to you to decide if you wish to use what I have to say or not. As I mentioned, I was one of Orochimaru's top researchers. My division was given the mission to develop an immortality jutsu for him. After many years of testing and failed experiments, we finally came up with something that looked promising. Well, to us at least. It was a kinjutsu I later dubbed Kon Tsukomu, soul inhale. It basically allows the user to put a soul into a corpse. The catch was that it could only be a living soul. Although we made a great breakthrough with this jutsu. Orochimaru disliked the idea of putting his own soul inside the body of a corpse, saying he wouldn't be beautiful or youthful then. And for our failures ked all of those involved save for myself, who escaped and fled here to Snow Country. From what I've heard from one of my spies in Oto, the bastard used my jutsu as a foundation for another kinjutsu he created called Edo Tensei, Resurrection to the Impure World, which allows him to summon AS soul into the living world once more, however using a living host in this case as the sacrificial medium instead. How utterly barbaric, even for me. She explained, before spitting on the floor to curse the snake Sannin. The pair's reactions were the same as before, both looking feral, with Naruto releasing his ki. They both silently promised that the snake's death would be painful and slow when it was his time to rest by their hands. Ma, calm down you two, I'm sure you'll both get your revenge on that man. She said with a smile. But other than to confess my past connections with that snake. I told you that story because I want to give you something before I pass on to the next world, my jutsu, Kon Tsukomu. She finished and had a small laugh by the shocked expressions from her friends. But, Kaname-san, what could we possibly use that jutsu for? Naruto asked, being the first one to regain his bearings. It's quite simple. Natsumi-chan, there is only a hanged cage bushin with her soul summoned in it, correct? She said smugly with another smirk, noting yet again their surprised expressions. Oh come on now, did you honestly think that I wouldn't notice or hear all the puffing of a cage bushins being initialized in this house? Or the lack of chakra Natsumi-chan has while being the queen of demons? I wasn't the head of an S-rank criminals research division for nothing, you know. Anyway, the use for the jutsu is simple. I want to give Natsumi-chan back the one thing she can still get back that Orochimaru stole from her real body, well, her real Hanyu body anyway. I know from doing research that demons, especially powerful ones, have not only a demon form, but also a human and Hanyu form, despite still being under the category of demon. He finally explained her reasoning for the jutsu. I swear, flies could shoot into their mouths and they wouldn't notice. She thought with a snicker, seeing the slack-jawed expression on the demon pair's faces. Wah! How? Was Natsumi's intelligent retort, still flabbergasted at the fact she might finally get her real body back, only her human body yes, but her real body nonetheless. Well, I already told you what my jutsu does, so all you need now is to learn it, and get yourself a corpse, though I already have one for you so you don't need to worry about that. She answered with a smile. The pair took a few moments to think about their friend's wish, and soon decided that if that was really her wish then they couldn't say no. As soon as they agreed, Kaname began to teach Naruto the necessary seals and hand signs for the kinjutsu. In the few hours' time that Naruto took to learn the jutsu, Kaname's condition worsened so much so that she could no longer move except for her head by the time she had finished describing the jutsu to him. The demon pair just made the old woman as comfortable as possible for the last few minutes of her life, and after a rather large coughing fit she wanted to speak to both of her friends with her final words. Naruto-kun. Hi Kaname-san. He answered sadly. I don't want you to change who you are, you are strong, compassionate, and an honest man. Well, honest about most things, she said with a small smile. Stay true to yourself and your reasons for becoming the shinobi that you are today. Protect the people important to you and you'll never go wrong on your path. And please for me, keep Natsumi-chan happy. I know you are denying what's going on between you two, but something will eventually get you two together, and when that happens I want you to promise me that you'll always do your best for her. She requested. Naruto hesitated, looking forlornly at his friend repeating her words in his mind, but thought that even though it would never happen that he should make that promise anyway, if for nothing else then to make his old-s friend happy. I promise Kaname-san, and arigato. He answered with a smile while squeezing her hand gently. Oh, and one last thing. I want you to take her to the snow festival tomorrow. I know for a fact that she has been looking forward to it ever since she heard about it, and I'm sure it would make her happy if you brought her. Can you do that? She asked sweetly. Hi, I can do that, he answered in a low warm tone, before getting up to let Natsumi sit to talk with her. Natsumi-chan. Hi Kaname-san. She answered sadly. Gomen, for not getting the answers that you sought after from Naruto-kun, he is a stubborn one. She said with a smirk, seeing her friend lightly blush. What do you mean? The vixen stuttered. Oh please, you thought I didn't notice your presence outside the door. Why do you think I asked Naruto what I had in that specific language ne? She retorted, getting a small but happy smile from her red-haired friend. Anyway, Gomen, as I said, but don't be disheartened over it. He knows his feelings, it'll just take a while to get over what is holding him back, just be patient with him. And please, take care of him ne. He is powerful yes, but not invincible, even the tiniest chink in one's armor and you can still be hurt whether physically or emotionally. But with you there with him I know he'll be just fine. She finished, squeezing the demoness's hand. Naruto took a seat next to the pair of women, when Kaname called him over again. Now before I forget to warn you too, my jutsu will work just a little differently because of your seal situation. Normally the living soul would take over the corpse host, allowing it to change into the soul's original appearance. That will not change for you Natsumi-chan. However, the difference will be that, originally if said person was killed it would be like any other death, just that the corpse would take its original form after the soul leaves. But with you two it's a bit more complicated. Even with Natsumi-chan having her own body and soul completely out of the seal still being active will link you two together. Meaning that her chakra will continue to fuse with yours Naruto-kun. It also means that because of the link that if either one of you s Naruto-kun at any time or Natsushimi-chan while using Kon Tsukomu. The other will automatically s with them, just as the seal originally intended. The last thing I remind you is that when Natsumi-chan isn't using my body. You should keep me in a storage scroll. My body won't decompose while sealed, so it's just practical. Quote. She paused with a long coughing fit. A bit of black blood appeared in her hands before she continued, meaning that her organs were giving out and she only has seconds more to live. Well, I guess cough it's about that time. Naruto-kun, Natsumi-chan, you cough both are very special. I don't want you to take the things cough other people dish out to you for that. Be strong, keep each other safe, and I'll be what? Ching? Why? Oh, you. She finished breathing her last breath with a smile towards her good friends. Natsumi cried as Naruto held her as they grieved for their friend who had done more for them than anyone else had outside of Konoha. They were truly grateful to know such woman and be able to call her their friend. After some time they finished the grieving and began their friend's final wish, as Naruto picked her up and placed her in the middle of the seal that was drawn on the floor of the room. Naruto set her up in a respectable position, before looking towards Natsumi. You ready? He asked quietly. The demoness just nodded and dispelled herself back into the seal. Naruto only waited a moment before kneeling down and began the long series of hand signs necessary for the kinjutsu. After almost 30 minutes of sealing, Naruto cast the last seal, slammed his hands on the seal, and yelled, "Konsukomu," making it glow light blue. The blue light soon encompassed Kaname's body before the light exploded outwards, blinding Naruto before settling back down into nothing. Naruto looked back after rubbing his eyes in vain to get the light circles out of his eyes, when he saw Natsumi standing in the middle of the seal with Kaname's corpse nowhere to be seen, now with red fox ears with black tips and 6 swaying fox tails of the same color adorning her persons. Did it work? He asked hesitantly, as he watched her test out her body the same way he had after his sosei. Only one way to find out, she retorted, using her demon technique to hide her tails and ears before walking to and past the door of the house. The pair walked out and into the forest far enough away from the village since they didn't want any unwelcome eyes. A simple jutsu should be a good enough test, Natsumi said before flashing through a set of seals even Naruto has trouble keeping up with before shouting her jutsu. Quote. Kaiten, Gukakyu no Jutsu, fire style, great fireball technique. A humongous ball of flame jutted out of the vixen's mouth, and to say Naruto was impressed was an understatement. He had never seen that jutsu conjured up like he was witnessing, not even when he used the Uzumaki's style. The ball of flame rose higher than the trees themselves, the flames were so hot the jutsu was actually white. Naruto was standing behind Natsumi and he was still sweating from the sheer heat radiating off her jutsu. She released her jutsu after a full minute, and took a small breath. Not bad, though I remember I could make them bigger in the past. Then again I'm only working with 6 tails worth of power, so that's to be expected. She mused with a thoughtful but cute expression on her face. But still, it worked, I have my real body back. She suddenly screamed before jumping around happily in the snow. You did that, and you were expecting to do better. Well, it's not wonder you are the queen of demons, but still damn Natsumi-chan. Naruto said, still slack-jawed. Hi, I'm pretty badass, I know. She retorted with a smug smirk after calming down a bit. Hi, but what did you mean only 6 tails worth? He questioned. Well, remember how I told you about you needing more chakra to be able to summon me with more power and tails via Kuchio's no Jutsu. It's the same concept here. The more control of my chakra you have, the more tails you get, and the more I lose. You can only control 3 tails worth of power right now, so I still remain in control of my last 6. She answered matter-of-factly. Well, that makes sense, but what happens when I gain control of all 9? Will you have no chakra left to control on your own? Well, think of our link as a chakra road, Naruto-kun, there is a ebb and flow. For example, if you held all 9 tails worth of power, then yes, I wouldn't be much of a threat. But at any time you can transfer chakra over to me, which would then cause you to lose however many tails worth of power you gave me and me gain them. Another example though, if you transferred all 3 tails of power to me, I'd get all 9 but you'd still have your natural, human, chakra reserves, so you'd still be in fighting form, get it? It's a little confusing, but yeah, I get it. Basically these tails are, well, other than for looks sake, a portion of your overall demonic chakra. And can be shared amongst us depending on how much I myself can control and decide to use. But even if I held none of your chakra, I'd still have my natural chakra reserves from my Kekkei Genkai, as well as the initial increase just from me having you sealed in me as a baby. Actually, the tails kind of remind me of the celestial gates you taught me about with the types of kinjutsus for taijutsu in our first year out here. He said thoughtfully. Yay, I suppose in a certain sense my chakra can be related to the gates if you put them in the context of number of tails. Though there are differences, mainly being that it's purely demonic chakra, until it's get filtered by the seal turning it into regular chakra for you, and vice versa for me. But also that instead of your body being torn apart because of the stress, if you go over the amount of tails you can control, because you're part demon, your demonic bloodlust will kick in and you'll go on a rampage only wanting to spill the blood of all those around you. He quirked a brow at that. Well, that's news to me, you could have told me this before. he scolded. And what ruin all my fun? I gotta keep a guy on his toes after all, she teased. TSH, you and your fun, he said, shaking his head, never noticing Natsumi quickly move up to him and lean up so their faces were now only inches apart. Or, you don't want to have fun with me, Naruto-kun? She cooed seductively, making him shiver from her close proximity, and hot breath hitting his lips. Kami-sama, why does she do this to me? He mentally groaned, being able to smell her intoxicating scent from so close. For not telling me you had feelings for me, damn it. She thought, smirking as if reading his mind, seeing the blush on his cheeks. But I'm not going to make it easy on you, my Naruto-kun. You're going to have to tell me yourself how you feel about me. You need to let yourself become completely vulnerable, causing you to have complete trust in me. Only then will I tell you my feelings and give you that kiss and other things that we both so crave, she finished now with her own blush from where her final thoughts were leading her imagination at that moment. Let's go to bed, it's been a trying day, she questioned innocently, only getting a slight nod in return from her still dazed crush. The pair went back into the house and went to bed, each of them looking back at what the day had held for them and thought hard about the future problems that it will hold for them both now. Day of the Snow Festival. It was the day of the annual Snow Festival in Snow Country, and the village was abuzz with preparations, decorations being strewn over the buildings to make them more festive. The streets were alive with the hustle and bustle of both village natives and visiting foreigners. As for the demon pair, after awakening, Naruto began his usual physical training while Natsumi just lounged and enjoyed her new freedom and power again. I still can't believe I have my real body back, she thought happily while watching Naruto train, making her flush slightly as her body began to heat up. I forgot how these kinds of feelings feel with a real body. Damn it, Naruto-kun, how can you have feelings for me and not tell me, you bastard? She mentally screamed. Naruto, on the other hand, was having a similar conversation in his head while doing his exercises. Damn, why did Kaname-san have to say things like that about Natsumi-chan and me? Didn't she realize I'm not someone that could make her happy as a mate? He thought with a light sigh. Well, it doesn't matter. Even if she does, it's probably because I was the only approachable male she's been with for past the few years. He concluded, just finishing his last set of push-ups, and walking back to the house. Hey Natsumi-chan, shouldn't you be getting ready? He questioned to the vixen who was still watching him. Ready for what, Naruto-kun? She asked, perplexed. Well, Kaname-san told me that you had been looking forward to this festival for a few months now. So I just figured I'd go along to keep you company. But if you aren't going to, I can just continue with my training, he said, just reaching the porch of the house. She frowned. Well, I had wanted to go, but with Kaname-san's death I would think it rude to go out and have fun so soon. I can see your point, but she was the one who told me about you and the festival, so I'm sure that she wanted you to still go even if something happened to her. She wanted us both to be happy in our lives, and her soul wouldn't be able to rest in peace if you grieved for her instead of trying to make the most out of your life, he reasoned with a small smile. Natsumi took a moment to think over Naruto's words, and though she still felt a little guilty for it, decided that Kaname was the kind of person to say something like that. She smiled at her orange-haired friend and nodded, agreeing with his words before she stood up and went into Tei house to get ready, with Naruto following behind. Naruto had been waiting patiently for Natsumi to finish getting ready for the past 2 hours. Now most men would have yelled at the woman for taking so long, but thanks to Naruto's kenjutsu training, he had built up a rather high level of patience for most things. Of course, there were still certain things that just ate at him and he lacked patience for, but you could literally count them on one hand. He was currently sitting on the couch in the living room wearing a tighten kimono with a heavy brown jacket on top. He was knocked out of his random thoughts when he heard descending footsteps on the stairs and decided to meet Natsumi at the stairs. He waited around the corner for her when he heard the last footsteps hit the stairs and the vixen turned the corner, standing right in front of him. Oh my Kami-sama, shushers, breathtaking, he thought, slack-jawed as he looked at her. She was wearing a kimono that she found in Kaname's closet. It was a shade of exotic emerald he had never seen, with gold trimmings that had dragons engraved in them which ran across her chest and hips. She wore a bit of makeup which only consisted of some very light red lipstick and lavender eyeliner that only seemed to accentuate her beauty more. So, How do I look, Naruto-kun? She asked with a small smile twirling in a circle for him. There are no words that could possibly hope to describe you. He thought but paused quickly. You look great, Natsumi-chan. He responded with a smile, which she returned before taking a scrutinizing stare at him before leaning forward so she was looking up at him. You're not too bad yourself there, Naruto-kun, she said in a seductive voice, as she placed her single pointer finger far under his chin and sensually slid it back towards her, before turning to walk to the door, leaving a very dazed Naruto. Coming, Naruto-kun, she cooed Seely, shaking him out of his gaze and made him nearly trip over his own feet while rushing to her side. Naruto grabbed another coat and put it around her shoulders before they both left the house to go to the festival. As they headed out, both of them were thinking the same thought about what she just did in the house. Out of she's going to be the death of him out of me. That evening, Daimyo's castle. The festival went off without a hitch. The demon pair enjoyed the town's celebration very much. They went throughout the town visiting the different concession stands that were stationed along the streets, ranging from antique jewelry, to exotic foods, to even games for both children and adults. After spending the afternoon in the town and just enjoying the sights, the pair as well as the rest of the town traveled up the snow-covered road that lead to Doto's castle for the snow festival ball that he hosted for every year for the festival. The castle itself was decked out with of every kind of decoration for a formal ball that you could think of. Naruto himself was surprised because he couldn't really recognize the castle anymore with the decorations up. The ball was close to starting as the last group of people entered the large doors of the castle before the guards closed them so the cold wouldn't bother the guests. Said guests ranged from every form of society you could imagine, from little urchins to the most refined aristocrat. For this singular day, social status meant nothing. Everyone was equal in the eyes of everyone else. That was the real celebration of the snow festival, the gathering and togetherness that everyone shared. Which was the epitome of this day, and everyone happily accepted it. Finally, the ball was soon underway, as the guests mingled with other guests telling life stories or just becoming acquainted with one another through small talk. Although the guests were allowed to travel throughout the castle, most of the party was stationed in the mess hall that Naruto had sneak into when meeting Doto for the first time. However, the room was turned into a ballroom, with the dance floor in the middle of it, and the white-clothed dinner tables surrounding the floor, with a full buffet of foods against the walls for the guests to eat at their leisure. Both Naruto and Natsumi took their time to mingle throughout the crowd to find people that she had become acquainted with in the village, and had little chit-chats with them before moving on. A few hours had passed and most of the guests were either sitting at the table having small talk with those around them, quietly eating, or dancing to the music that an orchestra that Doto hired for the occasion played. Currently, the demon pair had just finished eating the dinner in a peaceful silence they both enjoyed, and were just having a small chat with an elderly lord from Wind Country, before a trio of young, dignified, and very handsome men politely interrupted the trio's conversation. Excuse me, a blonde man in the middle of the group asked, getting the attention of the trio. Gamen for the interruption, but I would like to ask this beautiful young lady for a dance if she would grace me with one, he said, bowing, while placing his hand outward towards Natsumi in a polite gesture. Natsumi herself was quite taken aback by the offer. She had stayed with Naruto the entire night thinking it would deter any man from scoping her out and trying this. Plus, she just enjoyed being close to Naruto. She had hoped his presence with her would work. But she guessed that at least some men here would still attempt it, and sadly she was right. However, now she was stuck in a sticky situation. Either she could say no and give a lie as her reason, which she didn't want to do. The man after all asked with the utmost respect and manners and didn't deserve it. Or she could say yes and inadvertently take one more step away from Naruto admitting his feelings. Damn, she mentally swore. Of the men here, why did it have to be a handsome one with great manners? Instead of an ugly pervert who would just walk by and slap my ass. Of course, I doubt Naruto would let the guy live, but it would have at least been easier to handle. She finished in a defeated tone before looking towards Naruto, her eyes almost pleading for him to tell her what to do. She just looked at Naruto and awaited an answer, which she soon got as a broad smile. Why not, Natsumi-chan? Go have some fun, he answered in a warm tone, a tone that nearly crushed all of her hopes of him ever confessing. Her pleading eyes soon returned to normal, though the usual spark of liveliness they held were extinguished and replaced with a dim one. She gave him a small smile and a slight nod before taking the man's hand and got up from her seat heading towards the dance floor. The moment she turned, Naruto's happy expression took on a sad and utterly defeated one, as he sighed and took a sip of wine before turning to face the lord he had been speaking with. "You're a fool, you know, Arashi-san," the old lord said in a sage-like tone. "You're really going to allow other men to get that close to Natsumi-san?" he asked with a raised brow, seeing Naruto's current expression. He frowned deeper at Man's words. "It really can't be helped, Akira-san. There is a long and difficult history between us, but more importantly, I know that I'm not the man that can make her happy like she deserves to be. I'd only get in the way of her happiness if I ever told her what I really thought," he replied, taking a long gulp of wine. It's figures that the youth of today don't know what they really want. Arashi-san, I have some advice for you that you should take to heart, and being a shinobi yourself should only promote what I say. You should never let fear hold you back from the things that you want in life. Fear is the epitome of failure. Those who fail in life, fail not because they didn't try hard enough, but because their fear held them back from trying at all. If you want something in this world, you have to have the courage to take that leap of faith to attain it. In your case, how do you know that you aren't good enough for Natsumi-san over there, unless you take that leap and tell her? I mean, if you don't tell her, you've already failed even before you began. Are you really that much of a coward?" Akira finished in a tone that spoke of knowledge that only someone who had lived as long as he had could know about the world. Naruto thought deeply about what Akira had said, and now his conviction had been slightly cracked about never telling her. What Akira had said was absolutely right. Nothing in this world you want will be free. If you want it, you have to take that leap and grab it. As Naruto was thinking, he unconsciously gazed over at the dance floor to see Natsumi slow dancing with the man who approached the table. He looked at the couple and in the back of his mind wished it was him that was holding her as close as that man was. However, his conviction was still strong and soon shook that thought out of his mind before standing up from his chair. "Arigato for the talk, Akira-san. I need some time to think," he said as Akira nodded and let Naruto leave. Naruto was still conflicted and didn't know what to think. The seed of doubt in his decisions was planted by Kaname, and was now even more deeply rooted thanks to Akira's words. He needed some time to think away from Natsumi and some fresh air to clear his head. He quickly walked by the buffet table and grabbed a full jug of expensive and quite strong sake that he took a liking to during the ball, before heading towards one of the exits that lead to the second level of the castle. "Arashi-san, I hope you realize that keeping your feelings from Natsumi-san will be the worst mistake you'll ever make," Akira thought sadly as he watched the orange-haired man leave the ballroom with sake in hand. Nearly 10 minutes had passed and Naruto was standing at the edge of the balcony that he had traveled to after leaving the ballroom, still contemplating what both Kaname and Akira had told him about Natsumi and himself. "I really don't know what to do anymore. These feelings I have for her are so strong, and I don't want to bottle them up. I want to tell her how I feel so badly, and yet I know I can never be what she needs me to be a good mate. So what should I do? I'm stuck at a crossroads with no clear answer in sight. I've never had such strong feelings for someone in my entire life. I've never felt this close to even Oji-san. Natsumi-chan is more than just an important person to me, I know that much, but..." He thought, not even being able to finish it before taking a large gulp of sake and sighing loudly, before looking forlornly over the wall towards the snow-capped mountainside. "I know that look," a soft voice called out from behind him. "It seems Naruto-kun has finally grown up and even grew feelings for a woman but not sure what to do about it the voice asked with a small hint of humor behind it. Naruto knew that voice immediately and didn't even look back, taking another gulp of sake, waiting for her to come up next to him. "What are you doing all the way up here, Natsumi-chan?" he asked, as said vixen appeared right next to him taking the same position as him against the wall. "I could say the same for you, Naruto-kun, but I just came to see you. Akira-san told me that you left to get some air after my dance with Kiro-san ended. Although now after seeing you I'm curious and concerned about exactly why you are up here," she explained, never taking her gaze off of the mountain. "Though as I already said, I know it's about a woman. So now the question is who and why. But if I were to guess, it is Fubuki, since she is the only woman you've been in contact with for a long period of time, so now it's just why," she continued in a matter-of-fact tone. If his was only that simple. He thought offhandedly while looking at the profile view of the demoness next to him. Welcome to burst your bubble, but it's not about Fubuki. He retorted, leaving the sentence hanging in the air after realizing his mistake of actually saying the truth. Natsumi slowly turned towards Naruto and a raised eyebrow, though inwardly her heart was beating a mile a minute. Is he about to confess? She thought, feeling her heartbeat grow even faster. Oh, then who is it about Naruto-kun? She asked, trying her best to keep her voice to not betray the excited panic within herself at the moment. Naruto now looked at Natsumi and was completely captivated by her. He had truly never seen anyone more beautiful in his life, and it was tormenting him. He wanted to look away and just say it was nothing to worry about. But something in those crimson eyes of hers asked, no, begged him to tell her the truth of his problem. He couldn't stand this. He was being sped in two, and hated every moment of it. He was being bombarded with thoughts, words, and images of the recent past that involved the two. After a long time he finally came to a decision, thinking his final thought, sometimes if you really love something, you have to let it go. Naruto smiled warmly towards her, before he turned around and started to slowly walk back to the entrance he came from. It's nothing important, Natsushimi-chan, let's just enjoy the rest of the ball ne. He offered softly. Natsumi, for her part, was almost convinced that Naruto would tell her the truth about his feelings. But the moment she saw that smile she knew he was too afraid to, not that she could really blame him, but it still pissed her off. And that sadness and rage finally came to a boil within herself, as tears slowly drew down her flawless face as she balled her fists and gritted her teeth. Are you really so afraid of my reaction that you won't ever tell me that you have feelings for me? She screamed, as even more angry tears smeared her face. Naruto immediately stopped cold at her tone, but more importantly her words. He slowly turned towards her with a spanned look on his face, his heart feeling like it stopped the moment he saw her tears, but was having trouble forming his question. Why? You knew all along? He asked, a bit shocked. How long have you known? And why is my confessing to you really that important? Natsumi paused and thought for a moment over his words, before her face changed from that of rage to deep sadness, as her angry tears also changed emotions. I knew. As for how long, ever since when you and Kaname-san were talking about me while I was away. And it's important to me because I don't want to hear about your feelings from someone else. I want to hear them from your lips, in your voice, from your heart. She confessed in a low voice that only Naruto could possibly hear between soft sobs. Naruto was taken aback from her confession. He honestly didn't understand why telling her in his own words meant so much to her, if she'd only find them ridiculous in the end anyway. However, he still couldn't help but now feel ashamed that she had learned of his feelings through someone else and not directly from him. He took a step towards her but stopped, and straightened his posture. It was now or never. He had been called out. No more lying, no more deceit. Gomenasai Natsumi-chan. I never meant to hurt you like I obviously did. He paused to make sure he had her attention, which by her facial expression he fully had, before continuing. Quote, I never told you how I felt for a few reasons actually. But please believe me, none of them were to purposely hurt you. Honestly, it was to do the opposite. You're my best friend Natsumi-chan. And because of that, and especially now that you have your real body back. I want you to live as happily as you can. I realize that you're the queen of all demons, and with that title comes certain expectations of you. The main thing being that when you pick your mate, they have to be worthy of you. They must be strong, smart, powerful, and pure. Quote. He paused once more to let out a cynical laugh, while Natsumi just took on a whole different expression, one of complete shock. And I'm none of those things. I'm the son of the very man who sealed you away from the world. And worse, your jailer for the rest of eternity. But more so than that. I'm not even a full-blooded demon. Hell, I'm not a full-blooded anything anymore. I'm not human, nor am I a demon. The most accurate thing I can be called is an abomination. And that's why I never told you how I felt. I mean, how can something like me ever be worthy of you? Quote. He stated before setting his gaze on the ground, not being able to look at her anymore. You're a goddess in my eyes, Natsumi-chan. You're funny, a genius in your own right, you're drop-s gorgeous, one of the kindest beings I've ever met. Plus you're C as hell. You honestly don't know what you do to me when you tease me like you do. And for being your jailer you should hate me, and have every right to. You can't honestly think something like me can measure up to what others can provide you with like Doto, Kiro-san, or other demons can. You're out of my league, and I'm certainly not worthy of ever calling you my mate. He explained, sounding completely emotionally beaten, never chancing a glance back towards her. A silence fell on the balcony, with only the wind being heard for a time before a voice broke through. Ru, 2. Natsumi called out, making him pick up his head only to see a fist impact his face, sending him flying into the wall of the castle, making a crater, before falling to the ground. In pure shock, confusion, and slight fear, Naruto looked back up towards the vixen who was walking towards him with rage etched in her face. I was right after all. I guess this is goodbye, Natsumi-chan. I wish I could have made you happy. He thought, forlornly wishing that his friend wouldn't leave, as she just reached where his outstretched feet lied. Namikaze Naruto, just who in the hell do you think you are? She questioned with an almost uncontrolled rage while looking down at him. Ha, was his intelligent and fearful answer. She growled. I said, who F do you think you are? To tell me who or what I can or cannot have feelings for. Last time I checked, I was still the Kyuubi no Kitsune, the Fing Queen of all demons, so who do you think you are to tell me that I can't have feelings for you, when I already love you, huh? She questioned, with blood slowly dripping off her shaking fists. Naruto opened his mouth but then closed it, not really sure what to make of the situation. First he confessed to her, then she punched him into the wall, and now she questioned him on why he says she can't possibly have feelings for him when she does. Wait, what? He mentally screamed, as his eyes visibly widened. Natsumi-chan, did you just say that you love me? He stuttered, out of bewilderment, fear, but most of all hope. She said nothing while bending down, picked him up to his feet by the collar of his kimono, before pulling him back down into the most passionate kiss he had ever gotten. Granted, it was only his second kiss, but still. Naruto was too shocked to react at first. So many thoughts were going through his head, he already felt the beginnings of a headache coming on. But ignored it and his thoughts as much as possible, concentrating the soft lips that were connected to his own at the moment. Naruto was still a beginner to the physical things when it was to this kind of stuff, but he was determined to learn quickly as he closed his eyes, kissed her back and his arms around her waist, resting them on her lower back. The kiss itself was quite short, which both participants lamented, but it expressed something much deeper, the true feelings and intentions of them both. As they moved only slightly apart but still in each other's GS, Natsumi rested her forehead against his chest with a heavy blush on her cheeks. I didn't love you, Naruto-kun. She finally stated in a soft tone. Naruto was still shocked over everything that had happened in the last few minutes, but tried his best to keep himself in check. I need to know if she really means it, or if this is some kind of dream. He thought, before pushing her slightly away so he could look into her eyes. Natsumi-chan, do you really mean that? I mean, how can you love me when you know what I am and that I'm not worthy of such affection from you? He questioned. Natsumi once again leaned up and kissed him, sending a chill down his spine, before moving away to answer him. The kiss should be enough proof, but I know that you have a hard time trusting, especially when it comes to your feelings, Naruto-kun. She said warmly. But I do, Naruto-kun. I truly love you. As for the how, I don't really need a reason to love someone. But if you want to know the why, it's because it's you, Naruto-kun. It's the best way I can describe it. You have all these negative notions about yourself, that just aren't true. You aren't an abomination, you're a compassionate, strong, intelligent man. You say that Doto or Kiro-san would be better mates for me. Well, even if they were, which they aren't, love is the most important thing for me when it comes to a mate, not his status or power. I love you for who you are, you're my best friend too, Naruto-kun. And I honestly don't know what I would do if I ever lost you as my friend. And it's my choice to determine who is worthy of any affection I give them, and you are worthy, Naruto-kun. She confessed, as she raised a hand from his collar to caress his cheek. 5 months later. Several months had passed since the night that the demons finally consummated their feelings for each other, and things couldn't be better. Naruto's training commenced on schedule, and thanks to his Bushins was able to both learn and master another offensive and defensive technique of the Kitsune Isei-Ru, making it 4 offensive and 3 defensive he knew. He also completely mastered the Rasengan. Though he still needed to figure out strategies of how to use it in battle scenarios. No point in mastering a jutsu if you don't know when and where to use it. He was now also able to harness the Hiraishin no Jutsu up to 10 times in a row before he lost his concentration on the pull and needed a rest. Even though it was literally in his DNA to learn and master, Naruto figured out that the key to utilizing the Hiraishin no Jutsu wasn't based on the amount of chakra the user had, though the more chakra the better, but the level of concentration the user could keep up. When his father's scroll said, "Let yourself go when you feel the pull," it wasn't exaggerating. When Naruto felt the pull of the jutsu, he simply let his muscles relax, but concentrated on the pulling effect, and that is where the skill of mastering the jutsu lied. The longer you could concentrate on the pull, the longer the jutsu would last. And with Naruto's not only normal chakra reserves as large as they were currently and would eventually end, but then delving into Natsume's even larger reserves, him using the Hiraishin literally non-stop for an entire day would be child's play as long as his concentration held firm. As for the personal lives, the demon pair were as happy as could be. They now always used the non-intimate pet names for each other no matter where they were. Their teasing episodes, however, now tended to get a bit heated sometimes because they could finally express their feelings as mates. Naruto's training was occasionally put on hold to get rid of some tension. After all, foxes, especially demon foxes, were well known for their rather frisky natures, and these two were no exception, Hanyu or otherwise, and who could blame them? They were in love. Other than that, they each just loved the company of the other so much so that if a villager saw one of them, they knew the other wouldn't be too far off. They especially enjoyed each other's company on the colder winter nights when they just snuggled in bed, happy to be in the arms of their lover, love and mate. While their relationship was going well, the relationship in Snow Country couldn't be any different. While the pair mainly stayed in their own little world in the woods now that Kaname passed away and just going into the village to get supplies or visit friends. They did notice the shift of behavior of the commoners and those in the military and shinobi. Rumors even began to circulate in Snow Country about the long-lost daughter of the original daimyo, Doto's brother, finally being found, and that being the reason Doto is mobilizing. After all, a king never wants to be dethroned. Despite it being only a rumor, Doto's forces could be seen beginning to gather near the capital for something. For what no one knew exactly, but everyone knew somehow whatever it was going to be big and would probably affect all of Snow Country. Although the demon pair were slightly interested in the true reasoning for the military's mobilization, they decided it was best to stay out of it and just continue with Naruto's training, since it really wasn't any of their business. That is, of course, unless it began to endanger the lives of their friends in the village. And until the end of December of that year, which also made it the anniversary of their 4th year out of Konoha, it seemed like nothing of the sort would happen. That is until an old man arrived at their house one day, begging them to help fight in a civil war that would soon tear Snow Country asunder. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.